These are the 8 running backs your fantasy league is drafting simply ridiculously wrong. Yesterday, we talked about the wide receivers, laid out 7 names that we are either much higher or lower on than composite ADP. We are taking those ADPs from your home leagues, from ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, a few other platforms, packaging them together and comparing them to our rankings. And Hayden, we just have to convince the people that we're right and they're wrong.
Yeah, I think this show is going to be more about your flex plays and which running backs you should draft for your benches. I think the consensus is probably the right top 15 running backs. Grab 1 or 2 of them. And then today's show is about there's going to be some guys to target and some guys to fade, more in that like RB20 to RB40 range.
Winning the flex with your running backs this year and last year was a real key to victory. And so we're going to highlight a number of names that hopefully you can do that. Obviously, keep in mind what your settings are, full PPR versus standard scoring, and kind of read between the lines of the analysis and the kind of the archetypes of the players that we are talking through. Okay, let's kick things off with a player who has switched teams this offseason. Again, those aggregate ADPs list him as running back 33 at this moment. You and I have Jordan Mason as running back 29. Why do you think that we are much higher on this Vikings running back?
I think it's going to be like a true 1-2 punch, and there's 2 different profiles here. We know what Aaron Jones does. He's awesome through the air. They gave him a bigger workload this past season, dealt with some injuries, didn't get the exact same efficiency, especially in the red area as they wanted. You get massive upgrades on the interior, 3 new starters, first rounder, 2 veterans coming from Indianapolis. Up front, you get both tackles back in the lineup. This should be one of the best offensive lines in football. That was not the case last year, but I think they just realized an older Aaron Jones should not take like the heavy lifting from this. So Jordan Mason, I think, is going to project for more goal line opportunities than Aaron Jones. There's a 15-pound difference between Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, who's just more of a bruiser out there. So last year behind an offensive line that wasn't very good, the Vikings combined for 16.8 expected touchdowns. Aaron Jones came nowhere near that because he was so inefficient. But I think we can get 7 to 10 touchdowns out of Jordan Mason. So definitely like a more in half PPR and standard than full PPR. But I still think in full PPR, you can still sprinkle them in.
So last year, we know that this team really wanted to throw long touchdowns, explosive plays. They were explosive play defense and offense. We always try to follow the money, try to follow the differences in rosters year to year. And while the same play caller is in place, who we absolutely love in Kevin O'Connell, you and I believe that it's maybe underappreciated, underrecognized that this Vikings offense will go through a change. I know you use like Mike Clay's singular projections, Rich Rebars as well, and package them together to figure out how many projected carries go for each of the organizations across the league. We believe that they're going to run the ball more often. It is that simple. And Jordan Mason last year, other than Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, no one had more rushing yards than this dude on the San Francisco 49ers in the first 8 weeks of 2024. You said that in his later years, Aaron Jones is best as a 50% back. I would say Matt LaFleur knew it from his entire time with the Green Bay Packers that Aaron Jones was better as a 50% back. And if you just look at the underlying metrics that frequently are attributed to individuals, like singular backs, Jordan Mason scores exceptionally well in forcing missed tackles and creating yards after contact. So he's just a different type that they had last year. He's a different type than what Aaron Jones brings to the table. And for that, I think we're going to get a bunch of rushing yards and even rushing touchdowns on top of it, and an offense and a play caller we really, really appreciate.
Yeah, I think he's going to be running behind an offensive line that's better than what he had in San Francisco, where their interior was usually a little bit of a mess. But yeah, I do not want to overstate this enough. Like, we have, I think, a big offensive philosophy change coming in Minnesota. Everyone just copy paste that O'Connell's just been super pass heavy. I think this is going to be a way more balanced team than teams are appreciating, or most people are appreciating. That's why I'm kind of lower on TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. And if there is a kind of a guy that I think encapsulates this, it's Jordan Mason plus those 3 new interior offensive linemen.
They literally took their big arm downfield passing quarterback and transferred that into improving the center, improving one of the guards, and then selecting another one in the NFL draft. Like that to me is a stark indication. And, you and I, every single offseason, look for running backs who are selected, let's say after the top 24 backs out there, who could have that, season production profile of being touchdown scorers. Again, players on quality offenses that are going to have red zone opportunities, who might be the trusted player in the low red zone. I think J.K. Dobbins might be one. We've outlined Brian Robinson as one. And now I think Jordan Mason can be one this year too. And that could equal 10, 11, even 12 touchdowns. And so I'm really, really excited. Okay. Now we get into a rookie section. We did this for wide receivers on all your platforms out there. Even if we can look at, Jordan Mason being the 139th player on ESPN. All of these rookies, both on wide receivers and running backs, are undervalued in your home leagues. Let's kick things off with maybe in the last few hours, the most uncertain name of those. And that is Omarion Hampton of the LA Chargers. Currently, this might change in the next 2 weeks. He is our running back 12, but being selected in your home leagues as running back 17. Now, the difference is in practice today, Rashawn Slater, the highly paid now left tackle, just went down with a non-contact left knee injury, carted off, slamming his helmet down, very frustrated, teams patting him on the back. So, Hayden, let's start off with that conversation. If, and we don't know how significant, but if Rashawn Slater misses extended time, how is that going to impact both the Chargers offense and Omarion Hampton individually?
There seems to be a lot of tackles missing in the league over the last couple of years, and every single time there's just a pretty dramatic shift in just the EPA per play, both rushing and passing. I noted a couple of them from last season, and like the difference between these left tackles and right tackles on the field versus off the field is like the difference between the Packers and the Jaguars last year on offense. It's a pretty substantial difference. They do have Joe Alt, who's fantastic. He's probably going to kick over to left tackle where he played in college. The two backup tackles that are going to be competing for the right tackle spot have both played in the NFL. So maybe you can argue that the Chargers are a little bit more well-positioned to kind of take on an injury like this. But we got new interior players. This would be a definite downgrade at right tackle. So that would affect Omarion Hampton. That would affect Ladd McConkey. That would affect Keenan, Justin Herbert, all of that stuff. This is a pretty substantial deal. I think just in general, we kind of overlook when star tackles are missing in fantasy. And I think that Rashawn Slater certainly qualifies for that.
You made a point that Joe Alt can kick over to left tackle if that's the move that they want to make. But then we also know there are tremendous pass rushers and run defenders off the right side. Now, they will likely try some guys that have NFL experience, mostly on the interior, to switch on over to that right tackle spot. And Trey Pipkins and I think Jamari Salier as well as another name. They didn't quite cut it as starting offensive lineman for this team previously. And so, yes, there is almost certainly going to be a downgrade again, if one of the best left tackles in the league and Rashawn Slater misses time. This is difficult because, again, as an individual talent, I think Omarion Hampton is quite good. This is why they spent a first-round pick on him. He has the body type to, especially in the low red zone, score a boatload of touchdowns. We've all seen Greg Roman rushing attacks, be high scoring, even if he gives random dudes or lesser talents 120 plus carries in an individual season. Is there anything else you want to talk highly about Omarion Hampton before we get into the context of now where we might move him?
Yeah, I mean, just he's a bell cow size-wise, draft capital-wise, college history-wise, and if Najee Harris can't play, then there's nobody else to get the ball to here. Najee Harris' eye still looks like a closed catcher's mitt to me right now. It's not looking pretty. And Omarion Hampton, I think, is just going to be a huge volume guy for this season, even if Najee Harris does come back, just because they're stylistically similar, but Omarion Hampton is just significantly faster. So yeah, the volume is going to be there. It's just how good is he individually? Like how many explosive runs are we going to get behind this offensive line, which I would say now would be below average. And then is Greg Roman going to mix in a Najee Harris and stuff, or is he just going to let Omarion Hampton cook? Greg Roman's history has been kind of tandem related, but I think you can also kind of point to like Gus Bus, different style than J.K. Dobbins, and he's always had like two different styled running backs, where in this case, Omarion Hampton just like might be so much better than Najee Harris that he actually does give him the bell cow role.
Yeah, his final season at UNC, Hampton was only allowed 1.5 yards before contact per attempt. That ranked 99th in the class, but then nearly 75% of his yards came after contact. That was the third highest percentage in college football last year. He also had 67 receptions over the last 2 seasons. And we know one of those was when he was attached to Drake May. That is really good for, passing game profile that we're looking for. Again, let's adjust a little bit because that third round, we always talk about it. I wasn't very into the wide receivers. I was always aiming for Chase Brown, maybe if a tight end fell like Trey McBride to that area, or a elite quarterback. I was then attaching Omarion Hampton right next to Chase Brown, just ahead of like Breece Hall, Ken Walker III. I would still select, because right now I have Omarion Hampton as the 29th overall player. We both do. But I would still draft him in the top 36, just maybe move him down a little bit in that third round. That is still ahead of where these other platforms are drafting him. He's 43rd on Yahoo, 49th overall, I believe, on ESPN. So you're still going to get him if you use these rankings. But even my, let's say, optimistic lens is darkened a little bit because of this injury.
If you're going to create a rule, if he's available in the 4th round, by all means, feel free to click on him. I think that
3-4 turn,
the late part of round 3, I think is within range. But I do think that there's going to be some guys that we're going to like ahead of him there. Like, to me, I would rather have Breece Hall at this point. I definitely would rather have the elite quarterbacks over Omarion Hampton. But hopefully Slater could figure this thing out and get back on the field soon enough.
Let's move on to other rookies. Up to New England. TreVeyon Henderson, my guy in the NFL draft. A composite ranking of running back 23. That's how he's being drafted in your home leagues right now. He's your running back 20. I don't know how this happened, but he's my running back 21. So you're one spot ahead of me. Why do we love Hendo in this Pats offense?
Love is a word that I guess you can use. It's not how I would use it. I really like TreVeyon Henderson, the player. I think that if he goes late enough in your drafts, he's going to be a totally fine flex play. I think eventually will turn into an RB2. I think there's a little bit of a ceiling here just based off of his history. And then this, where the Patriots were like last year, they only had 18.7 expected half PPR points to their entire running back group combined. I don't think he's going to completely bury Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. I think this will be a committee. So I think he's going to be a fine flex play. And I think that there is explosive ability here. He's going to be out there in passing situations. So I do like him as a rookie versus some of the other rookies that we're going to be talking about. There's just not that like many great RB22, RB21 candidates right now. So this is kind of the range where I'm looking at some of the wide receivers. So make sure you go watch yesterday's show. But I still like him. I like him. Okay. I don't love him.
I will carry the TreVeyon Henderson water more than you then. Okay. Because I think he's simply fantastic. To me, he changed the fabric of an offense. He changes how defenses play you. We know he's a sick pass protector who is also ridiculously explosive and an excellent receiver. Like, those 3 things are combos I want to draft in fantasy football whenever I get the chance. And again, we're able to get him at running back 23 in your home leagues at this moment. I think we could see a Tony Pollard-esque impact during his days with the Dallas Cowboys, where he pops in for 11, 12, even some games 15 touches. And again, just totally changes the scope or an outcome of a game because of these ridiculously long plays. And we're now tied to Josh McDaniels, who has used at a high level, like this archetype of player. Like I could go through James White, Shane Vereen, yada, 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 Danny Woodhead, down the list of receiving first, get them in space type players, and really, really good things happen. Now, that was attached to Tom Brady and not attached to Drake May, who's one of the best scramblers in the league. But at the same time, I think that TreVeyon Henderson, and even by you, is a bit underrated as like a pure ball carrier when he was third in the class with 4.43 yards after contact. So I am all systems go on TreVeyon Henderson this preseason, and the practice tapes of him burning dudes on wheel routes, choice routes, stuff down the field is not letting me slow down at all.
Yeah, totally good. I think he's going to be a totally fine player. It just, if he's going to be in a committee role in the Patriots, I can have some excitement for that. I can't just like go full unleash mode. So I think that's kind of the difference. And what makes this like entire running back class kind of interesting is I liked a lot of them. Only a couple of them I thought like had like true bell cow ability, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in fantasy. The Patriots, by the way, are going to be starting a rookie left tackle and a rookie left guard. So that's going to be something that they have to kind of figure out. 2 rookies on the Drake May blind side.
Before we go any further, and we're about to disagree on the next player, if you enjoy this video, if you want to win your league, hit that subscribe button. Our entire goal is to help you get in first place, definitely not last place, and just beat up on your buddies that you've been in fantasy football leagues with for years and years and years. So it's totally free to you. Hit that subscribe button. We have content totally geared towards coming in first place over the next 3-4 weeks ahead of week 1. And then once week 1 begins, guys, we unleash stats versus film on you, waivers, rankings, rest of season rankings, along with trades. We have it covered along with Sunday night recaps. So again, this is the place to be if you want to win your fantasy football championship this year. Okay, let's talk about RJ Harvey. Difference between me and you, and where he's being drafted as running back 25 right now. You have him as running back 24. I'm at running back 20. Do you want me to kick things off here?
It's all you, buddy. This is your segment.
All right. I want to begin and say to you, the commenters, I do not care that he was listed as running back 5 on the first unofficial depth chart. Yeah. I think Bo Nix was listed as quarterback 3 last year, but I'm sure some people, maybe 1 or 2 of you, were scared off by that. This is going to be a case where RJ Harvey does start out the season somewhat slowly. It could be 3 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. It could be 5 weeks. Alvin Kamara was the same exact way when he was a part and a rookie, I think in 2017, if I'm remembering correctly, with Sean Payton. He had like 7 touches, then 8 touches, then 11 touches, and then ultimately finished the season as running back 5 in points per game during that slow start. We're talking about Sean Payton here, attached to a running back who's explosive and a great receiver on top of it, okay? The last 7 offenses that Sean Payton has called in the NFL, we look at 2 with Denver and 5 with the New Orleans Saints. Running backs, the lead pass catcher and targets on that team, ranked 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 2nd, 2nd. So almost unanimously, the running back on that team that is best as a receiving back is going to be top 2 in targets. And we like the Denver Broncos. Las Vegas likes the Denver Broncos. They think they're going to score a lot of touchdowns. And this guy was handpicked by Sean Payton. So again, be a little patient with RJ Harvey. But man, check back with me in November. And I think he's easily going to pay off this running back 25 ADP. And that's why I rank him as running back 20.
Yeah. So to just throw a little bit of caution to that, those are Alvin Kamara stats largely. I think that.
No, I mean, awesome. Javonte Williams had 70 targets last season.
Yeah, he definitely did. He's going to catch the ball. I do like RJ Harvey a lot more in full PPR. Benjamin Albright came out and he's covered the Broncos closely for a long time. He said, quote, "I'll say this. I think people are overdrafting Harvey relative to what I think he's going to do early in the season. And I think we're all under that same assumption. He's going to look better in December than he's going to look in September. Right now, the hard part about this is specifically he mentioned that the reason why Dobbins has this 70-30 split right now is because RJ Harvey's behind in pass protection and J.K. Dobbins is a great pass protector, which I think we all agree with there. So he's going to have to catch passes like on early downs. Now, this is the Sean Payton offense. That's what they do here. That's what RJ Harvey's going to do. So if he's not going to play in the 2-minute drill, if he's not going to play on 3rd downs, is he going to get the goal line roll? J.K. Dobbins is bigger than RJ Harvey. So we'll kind of see what happens there. So he's going to be in the PPR mix. He's going to be in the flex mix. That's why I have him as the RB25 and stuff. But I do think it does make sense that like he might have to be on your bench for the first couple weeks of the season. And by the end of the season, does he have the true bell cow profile that Alvin Kamara had? He's not quite as big. He's coming from a smaller school than playing in the SEC. Alvin Kamara is one of the legends. So there's a kind of a lot of things that have to go right here. There's a path to upside here. I am kind of selling that path to upside, but I do acknowledge it does exist.
I would say it's not just Alvin Kamara. Rich Rebar pointed out that 24 running backs under Sean Payton have hit 50 plus targets in a single season. He just did an interview with Scoop City on The Athletic and said of all the players, all of them that he could bring back and place on to this 2025 team, it wouldn't be Jimmy Graham. It wouldn't be Michael Thomas. It wouldn't be Marcus Colston. It wouldn't be Drew Brees. It would be Darren Sproles. I am taking that as a pro RJ Harvey statement that he wants someone that is explosive to get the ball in their hands. He's done in the past with Reggie Bush. He's done with Pierre Thomas, with Darren Sproles. Like we can keep going on and on and on about this type of a player that he wants to manufacture and funnel things to. He did that last year with Marvin Mims, you know, like this is one of the best screen teams with the least talented backfield in the NFL. And that's why they didn't have rushing production. I think RJ Harvey's going to give them legit rushing production because he is a menace with the ball in his hands. And I simply believe he's going to be better in October than September, not December versus September.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about this is in your redraft leagues, and that's what today's episode is, he goes much later than he does on Underdog. And in your redraft leagues, I think his ADP is appropriate even with some of these concerns, especially in a full PPR league. He becomes even more interesting to me. I just did want to note, since J.K. Dobbins was signed here, he fell 6 spots overall on Underdog. Only 6 spots. That seems to be like a little bit of wish casting here. So a long way to go. He's going to be the RB2 on this team. He's going to have some value down the stretch. You just have to make sure you can get to the playoffs.
My gosh.
Some
value. I think he's going to have tremendous value in this offense. Okay. Like If other 31 teams that he went to when he was running behind another guy, I would get a little nervous, but this is exactly the type of player that Sean Payton adores and features. And look, J.K. Dobbins was one of my best calls last offseason. It's not like J.K. Dobbins has been the beacon of health lately in the NFL.
Sure.
So like of all number one running backs that we're nervous that he's taking away from a rookie, J.K. Dobbins isn't that high on my list for an entire season. So I'm excited to see RJ Harvey this year, and I can't wait to go through his stuff on Stats versus Film. Odds are you went through a major life event at some point this year. Did you buy a house? Did you get married? Are you expecting a child? Well, when those hit, your life is then put into perspective. You think about the future, and not just for yourself, but those around you. And what really should pop into your head is life insurance. Now, I went through a process with life insurance where I had to go get like a medical exam. In fact, they showed up to my house at 7:30 in the morning, some random stranger who then asks you hours and hours of questions. Then they figure out if you can qualify or not, blah, blah, blah. What I should have done is go on over to Ethos, because there is no complicated process at Ethos and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and that's it. Again, you can get a quote in as little as 10 minutes, and some policies go as low and cost as low as $2 a day that is billed monthly. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/the show. That is ethos.com/the show right now. I think we accomplished all the rookies that we want to shout out there. Let's now go to Tank Bigsby. It's been an off season of Tank. He's my running back 35. He's your running back 39. And I think he's moved all the way up in home leagues as running back 41. So where are we at with the Tank experience at this moment?
Right now, everything out of camp and from their scrimmage is that he is the go-to guy on early downs, which I'll take as the go-to guy at the goal line, most likely. And then he's being phased out in the pass game. So it just comes down to how many touchdowns is he going to score. Last year's unit, which was not a very good one, they had 14.9 expected touchdowns as a team for the running backs. That was the 20th in the NFL. Could they get that closer to the 10th, 12th, 15th best with Liam Cohen in the building? I think that is possible. So I think 6 to 10 touchdowns, I think that's within range for Tank Bigsby here. I do think there's a chance he can see 14 carries per game. I'm also anticipating him not to have the pass game role for most of the season just because ETN's there. I think Tootin could do some explosiveness through the pass game. And even LaQuint Allen, their number 4, was a pure pass protection receiving guy out of Syracuse too. I think the offensive line has some issues, but everything out of camp is saying that Tank Bigsby's most likely the goal line back. Any goal line back for a team, especially a team that we think is going to look a lot better this year, should not be priced in the RB40s. So if he's there, take him.
I'm so in on Tank Bigsby. It was fun drafting him as the 3rd Jaguars back all season long. We said it week 1 last year. He simply looked better than Travis Etienne. That bore itself out in a whole bunch of underlying metrics. He was 13th in EPA per rush last season, which James Gladstone cares about and is submitting to his coaching staff. Tank Bigsby also was only given 0.82 yards before contact per rush. To me, that's an offensive line stat that would place him 41st across the league. And per reach rebar, he then posted 3.74 yards after contact, which is 3rd in the NFL. So he's not a perfect player. As you pointed out, his low lights in his rookie season in terms of a receiving game was one of the worst you'll ever see, the worst 7 targets of all time. He did catch many more passes in college. I just don't think that there's going to be a true singular Bucky Irving that we're going to find in this Liam Cohen offense. The offensive line is obviously much worse in Jacksonville than it was in Tampa Bay. But if I watched and saw that Tank Bigsby was more explosive and better than Travis Etienne last year, I think Liam Cohen did the exact same thing. And that's why we're seeing all these reports, even if it's going to be more of a mix and mash and role player thing than what the Bucs put out there with just a 2-person tandem.
They've been asked about this and they said no, but Travis Etienne has a tradable contract. Like there's no dispute about that. They want to get rid of him. They can do that. That would obviously drive Tank Bigsby's price tag up and his value up. So I think the baseline assumption is like, he's probably projected for 55 rushing yards and a lot of the goal line carries for Jacksonville this year, with room to go to make that improve if Trevor Lawrence takes a step, if Liam Cohen is like considered the best play caller in the league, or if the offensive line takes a step, or Tank Bigsby even looks better than last year. So yeah, he's a must target right now.
Small voice in the back of my head keeps remembering how untalented potentially this Jaguars offensive line is and how it could kind of crumble the house of cards that we're hoping this Jaguars offense like takes the next step with the quarterback, the pass catchers, even some piece in the running game, and obviously the play caller. But again, there's a massive difference in the pockets, in the structure, in the fabric that the Bucs offensive line created for this unit last year versus what the Jaguars might do this year, especially as the season goes along. You're going to lose starters, no matter what. That happens to basically everyone. Okay, one that we do agree on is Ray Davis. And boy, are we ahead of consensus on this one. In ESPN, Yahoo, wherever else, the composite ADP is running back 51. He is our running back 40. What gives? Why are we right?
Well, this is just the entire offensive line returns for the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, were third in rushing success rate, third in EPA per play. It's a great offense in general. There's stability in this offense. We know they're going to be excellent. They're actually projected for the most points in the NFL, according to the betting markets. Ray Davis, when we went back and watched him, made a lot of dudes miss. He also has like the thickness that I'm looking for if he's going to all of a sudden get some goal line roll. I think there's like some David Montgomery-ish to Ray Davis here. So if something ever happens to James Cook, I like Ray Davis's chances of seeing 15 plus touches per game, plus a large majority of the goal line stuff, as Ty Johnson is only a pass game guy. James Cook, this isn't even like an anti-James Cook stance here. Like, contract's going to get settled. He's going to be on the Buffalo Bills this year, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, James Cook is a 199 pounder who's skipping training camp, and we'll see if he can survive another one of these seasons out there. So lots of contingent value for Ray Davis. And I think that in a pinch in week 6, injuries are everywhere. Could you throw him into your flex spot? I think possibly you could.
Running back might be different than wide receiver, but I don't think we've discussed it enough that, missing training camp, we'll see how deep this goes into it, really did slow down some of the production of wide receivers last year. James Cook is still holding in at this moment for business reasons. And I totally get it. Get paid while you can. I mean, we just saw what happened with Rashawn Slater today, But Ray Davis is breathing down your neck because Ray Davis is freaking good. All right. As you said, 30 missed tackles forced on 120 carries this past season. In the one game that James Cook did miss, he touched the ball 23 times, had 152 yards. There are other moments that he totally flashed in the very minimal opportunities that he did get. And the main reason why James Cook went nuclear last year is out of nowhere, the Bills gave him all the work inside the 10-yard line, inside the red zone, when they totally avoided that in previous years. Look, the playoff stretch, Ray Davis was actually playing behind Ty Johnson, which I do not love. It would have been great if he was the true running back 2 on this team. But talking about build, talking about areas that he could become more of a focal point. Really, it's the entire field, but especially inside the 20 and inside the 10-yard line. I just think he's too good to deny when I'm sure Joe Brady and company went back this offseason and reviewed his tape, because you and I kind of came to that conclusion.
Yeah, I'm sure that whenever James Cook agent comes in the building, they're just like have Ray Davis's highlights like playing in the background here as negotiations continue. There's just a chance this is more Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery in this next season than it's only James Cook and Ray Davis is to the side. That's what the second year leap is all about there. And maybe there's a little bit of, hey, James Cook should be more used like Aaron Jones. And if any of those type of scenarios play out, then Ray Davis becomes not just a bench guy, a potential RB3 in fantasy.
Let's flip the script and go to the lower side. All right. So Tyrone Tracy is being selected as running back 31, but he is your running back 37. Why the difference?
It's the Giants here, and they added Cam Scadabo. So I like Tyrone Tracy pre-draft. We both did. It was a good call from us. We can also acknowledge the Giants this year shouldn't be that pretty of an offense. And he was the RB24 last year when he was playing like 70% of the snaps. I don't think that he's going to play 70% of the snaps this year. Cam Scadabo, by the way, huge bell cow guy. He has 10 pounds on Tyrone Tracy. So I think that the goal line role could easily go away from Tyrone Tracy. Cam Scadabo is also one of the best receiving backs there I've seen in the last couple of years. He was fantastic out there catching passes. So Tyrone Tracy is going to be in a committee, but I'm not sure if he's going to be catching as many passes or at the goal line versus Cam Scadabo. And I'll even throw out that Devin Singletary is still there, and like I think that he competes. So I don't know how Tyrone Tracy beats me. I would rather pay up a couple rounds and draft guys that I really like at running back position, or wait later and then like hopefully to hit on a Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, Isaac Rendo type. I think Tyrone Tracy just like completely middle grounding this.
So I'm actually on the end of the default ADPs here. I also have him right around running back 31. I have him as the Giants' #1 runner. I mean, this is someone who last year had over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns as a rookie, and then he's being drafted now in fantasy leagues as the second Giants running back. Since you threw Ben Albright at me earlier, I'm going to throw our buddy Jordan Ronan at you now, who said that this is, quote, clearly Tyrone Tracy's backfield. 100% was the statement that was used, that Cam Skattebo has missed time, but he wasn't receiving many first-team reps when he was healthy. Quote, there is no competition. So I'm totally with you. I really liked Cam Skattebo as a player. I mean, we kind of compared him to James Conner, David Montgomery of that styling. People just bounced off him. He had a little bit more juice than believe he was given credit for as well. I also saw Tyrone Tracy be good as a rookie and overcome obstacles as a late round pick. And then, like you said, from week 5 and on, after taking on the starting running back role, he was running back 20 in points per game.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Giants in general last year. The fewest expected touchdowns from the running back group. That was because the offense was a mess. I think the offense is going to look a lot better. I like Russ versus what Daniel Jones was offering. But yeah, what's interesting about that Jordan Ronan thing is I was listening to his podcast the day before Skattebo got injured. And on that podcast, he's like, I think that Skattebo is going to be the goal line back and play in passing situations. And then
he did say passing situations in this. I should have brought that up.
Yeah, it was just like interesting that he like completely said that now it's unquestionably Tyrone Tracy. Now, if Skattebo's long-term injured, then like he's long-term injured and it is what it is. But just before he was injured, Skattebo was like on pace to be like the goal line guy and the passing game guy. And that's what we're looking for in fantasy. So I think just the answer probably is just like Giants running backs. Really, that's what we were trying to win our fantasy leagues with this year and just kind of skip over both. But yeah,
I mean, Tracy's our guy, Hayden. I hate to see.
I like Skattebo too, though. Like if I like both our guys and it's a bad offense, then what am I supposed to do? You know?
Okay. I don't think Javonte Williams is our guy,
No.
but he is on these platforms for your home leagues because he's being drafted as running back 35 on there. He's my running back 42, and you're even later on him as running back 47. Why the difference?
Well, there's ambiguous backfields, and then sometimes the backfields remain ambiguous. Here's what I'm seeing out of Cowboys camp. First of all, the offensive line's a mess. Their left tackle, who was bad last year, a rookie, he's injured, and it's a knee injury. He's probably not going to be ready for week 1. They've had some right tackle issues before. Their interior offensive line has some guys there, but we have a new rookie guard as well. Everything up in the air. What I'm reading is sometimes the Jaden Blue is the RB1. Sometimes Miles Sanders is the RB1. He's been injured for the last couple of days. And then all of a sudden, like Javonte Williams getting buzz. Guess what? If there's like, you have 3 running backs, you have 0 running backs. Most importantly, though, I'm seeing their fullback is getting legit carries at the goal line, and they're using Kevontae Turpin, their wide receiver, actually getting carries. I'm anticipating like 5 guys getting carries per game for the Dallas Cowboys. This is a disgusting situation brewing right now. I think the defense has a lot of issues as well. So I think we're going to enter week 1 and just going to be like, it's George Pickens, it's CeeDee Lamb, maybe it's Dak Prescott, and all of these guys, if you're starting any of these Cowboys guys, it's a mess.
Jaden Blue on those same platforms is being drafted as running back 51-ish. I would much rather take that dart than Javonte Williams as running back 35. And I'm not even a Jaden Blue guy in the grand scheme of things. I just think that he has actual receiving chops, and maybe they can use that if they're going to rely so much on the passing game. Javonte is just a totally different player than what he was like coming into the NFL out of UNC, where he was a tackle breaking machine, one of the best underlying metrics in that area of all time. And injuries, everything has just sapped that from him. And it's sad because he was really fun, but we can't think of that player anymore. Like this Broncos offensive line last year was exceptional, and he couldn't run the football. And he was just a volume sponge in the passing game because he could pass protect. And that's it. So I don't see one guy, unless it is Jaden Blue, just claiming this for the entire season. I see them maybe a pocket here of 2 games, a pocket there of 2 games, 1, 2 other games. No one does anything at all.
Yes. I
don't want a piece of really anyone here unless it's just the cheapest one.
And there's a chance that cuts come or a trade happens and they end up in Dallas. I could totally see that. Yeah, once you get the fullback actually mixing in, you're getting Turpin getting some touches there. They're getting CeeDee Lamb some drawn up stuff as well. Yeah, and on top of that, Javonte Williams is going to be out there for like pass protection issues. So even like the Jaden Blue stuff, if they don't trust Jaden Blue in pass protection, which the University of Texas didn't even do, then how is he like going to be the pass down guy? Like he's going to have to be like an early down guy catching some passes, and you're not going to do that when you can throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb and stuff. So like I think it's just there's gonna be a bunch of guys eating snaps. None of them have fantasy value. So yeah, target ambiguous backfields at your own peril. I think the answer to this is going to be none.
Okay, let's go into an even more obscure, difficult, and confusing situation. Quinshon Judkins right now, early second round pick by the Cleveland Browns, is being selected in your leagues right now as running back 39. I have him, and it just feels weird to talk about fantasy rankings with this, as running back 51. He's your running back 44 at this moment. We know he has domestic violence charges, has not even signed his rookie contract. We've seen suspensions handed out. We've also seen exempless issues. Is there any of the latest news here? Because this is, again, one of the most obscure, just purely fantasy situations and contract situations I can remember, that I have no idea if he's going to play a single game this year.
Yeah, I think there's a potential that he misses the entire season. I think there's potential that he plays for a bulk of it. The reason why he has not signed his contract yet is because the pending legal case, it's a domestic violence case right now. That's what the charges are. And if he were to sign his contract, the history with the personal conduct policy is that domestic violence accusations end up on the commissioner's exempt list, which is a paid leave. So that's why he probably hasn't signed this contract yet. The typical suspension for a domestic violence case is 6 games if they can process that. And that's going to be the hard part. Today, there was news that Quinshon Judkins waived his right to a speedy trial, which means that his actual trial, if it does get to trial, wouldn't happen the next couple days. It would happen months from now, most likely. Most times when it goes to trial, it takes a long time. So there's a chance that if it does go to trial, that he would just be sitting at home and either unsigned or on the commissioner's exempt list and away from the playing field. So like the best case scenario would be he reaches a plea agreement, which we saw with Rashee Rice, which can happen at any time. That's probably what they're aiming for. Trying to predict plea agreements from the outside is an impossible task. And if he does accept a plea agreement, the NFL would still go through their investigation. They would still probably hand him a 4 to 6 game suspension. He doesn't even have to be charged for domestic violence. The NFL can just say, we see enough evidence for our own investigation. That's what happened with Zeke Elliott. So there's a lot of uncertainty here. I think your stance of he could literally not play this season is true. He can also be back for week 7. I can see that. Do you want the Browns running backs? That's another question we also have to ask ourselves. The answer to me is no. So I don't know, man. I'm out.
Okay. Just quickly, some other running backs that I'm drafting well ahead of the composite rankings. One is running back 55 out there in your drafts. I have Jalen Wright as running back 47. Braylon Allen, I have running back 44. He's being selected as running back 54. So those are some late names to think about in your home league drafts. Anything else you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Just a lot of the running backs we didn't touch on because they're like, we're in line with rankings. Just draft a couple of those guys. So I think this is a position that in like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, like pick your favorites in that range, draft a couple of them. And then I think we highlighted some of the names that we like afterwards, but I'm not like on team 0 RB or anything like this. So yeah, a lot of the guys are kind of like that in that middle ground, like RB 28s and stuff. Don't really move the needle for me. You're not winning your league because you got somebody that can slide into your flex spot. You need true league winners. To me, you draft them early or you hit on somebody going way later that kind of popped off because of an injury.
2 challenges before we get out of here. One, Hayden shouted this out on Twitter. If you are listening to this in audio form on your phone, either on Apple or Spotify, it would be massive if you could leave us a review, a comment along with it as well. This is the time that people are trying to find the sources to go to for their fantasy football news, information, analysis, all that stuff. And the more reviews that we get during this time, the higher we're going to be on the charts and the more people that are going to find the show. So we would really appreciate it if you literally took 30 seconds after this, left a review, left a comment along with it so we can climb those rankings. And the best way for you to win your fantasy league this year is to get your reps in and go and draft on Underdog. Use promo code The Show right now because we'll throw some free bonus credits in your direction. It allows you to pick, like Hayden just mentioned, from the pockets of running backs in round 2 or round 3. And if you take those, what wide receivers are you missing out on? Vice versa. So you can really build and get reps in on your roster building. So again, that link in the description down below, and go and download and draft on Underdog at this moment. That does it for us. Shout out to Weez behind the scenes. Shout out to Hayden in front of the scenes. Up the Velo. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.